Hey
Hey,
there,
hello.
how you doing? You okay?
Good, good, good. How are you? How
Yeah, not bad. Just trying to set
how's your
myself
day
up. All
been?
good? Yeah, it's been good. Haven't
Because you're
been up to
pretty
too much
busy.
today. Today I just went to the agency to pick up a new delivery that came in, and it was a box just behind me. I can show you guys actually.
Okay,
It's a little surprise.
let's see.
I'll be I'll be posting it soon actually, but it's some new Asics shoes.
Oh, nice.
Let me
I
open it.
think
I'll actually show
a
you
lot
guys.
of people will be interested in the new model.
Yeah, they're the new Speed. So they're pretty cool. They're quite
Oh,
funky. They're a
nice.
different color.
We can say
Very
well,
vibrant.
this hasn't happened before in the Middlesex IGTV, an unboxing. So there we go.
There you go. Sorry. Yeah. I'll leave it down there.
I don't get the chance to do that, so it's actually really cool.
Hope you're keeping well and busy though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the lives keep me quite busy as well, fortunately. Um,
That's great.
and
That's great to
yeah,
hear that.
just reading a lot, not
Nice.
something I can do, let's say, usually when coaching. That takes
Yes,
up a lot of
definitely.
time, which I'm sure you know.
Yes, yes, definitely. We don't have, well, there's a lot of free time now, so we have
True,
to
true.
think
What
about
have you
what we're
been
going
up
to
to during
do.
lockdown?
In lockdown, I've been working out quite a lot. I've just started a YouTube channel, so I've been
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep active on there and just sorting out the last few things for my Q&A that I'll be posting hopefully this weekend.
Oh,
Otherwise, I've been doing some tennis videos outside. I've found some really cool walls
yeah.
in London.
Are
I've
you
got
in
to
the
explore a little
pursuit
bit
of
in my room.
tennis balls?
Yes, actually. Have you found any, or
I
have
know.
you
I
been
think
out?
I've just I've basically been following your lead until now. I've just been to the
Oh,
ones that you showed us. So
one of the coaches, guy's
yeah,
broken 5 walls. No, I haven't. But yeah, I found a really cool one in Camden, so I've been recommending that to quite a few people. So maybe the next time I go,
yeah,
it might
that's
be
pretty cool.
taken.
I've been there as well. It's quite busy. I have to say at the moment. You
Yeah,
have
no,
to
very busy.
wait for your turn.
Yeah, definitely not. I've had to wait a little while, but it's nice to do that. But no, it's good to find
And
other things to keep me busy.
how often do you work out now? Let's
I
say
try to
during lockdown.
do 3 to 4 times a week, mainly body weight training. I have a pull-up
Mhm.
stand, I have a few light dumbbells and stuff like that, but it's mainly body weight exercises.
Is that how often you usually
I
work
try
out?
to, usually I'd be in the gym, but
Mm-hmm.
since last year, I kind of changed my workouts to be more home-based or body weight mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
And
that hopefully just keeps me busy. And I can train anywhere, anytime.
mhm. Have you done any tennis coaching online?
I have not. I've done a few fitness sessions. I do a little bit of strength conditioning. So I've been training a few clients in parks and stuff like that. So using the outdoor facilities to train. Um, I've been using steps at a place called Alexandra Palace, and they
Mm,
have a lot of
okay.
hills and stuff like that. Some flat ground for car park. So training footballer out there as well. A few tennis players, a few kids, a few adults. So keeping it
Mhm.
keeping it pretty busy.
Hey, just
Yeah, which is
for
good.
those that don't know you, but I can see a lot of people do know you already. You have quite a lot of followers on Instagram. How did you get into tennis, let's say, first of all? Because I'm guessing that's where it all started. Like all these other roles kind of happened
So I
linked
was
in this.
originally interested in both tennis and football from a young
Okay.
age, and I think I was more interested in football at that time, but I preferred the individual aspects of playing tennis, so that kind of led me towards the line of wanting to pursue tennis. And then I had a few trips here or there to Spain and one to America. And
Mm-hmm.
from there, my goal was then to go to America on a tennis scholarship. So I managed
Cool.
to do that at 18 years old, which was really cool. And
Where
then
did you
kind of
go?
led me on from there to, I went to Jacksonville State. It was
Mm-hmm.
in Alabama, down south. One of my friends is here. He's my roommate actually in America, Austin.
Okay.
So it's good to see him on here.
How was that for you? How
Yeah,
was that
it's nice.
experience? Because it's a little bit, I mean, I kind of got mixed answers about that. Some had a good experience, some not so great.
Yeah, no, I personally really enjoyed it. I met some amazing people, traveled all around America as well, and the quality was really good as well, the level. I also
Mm-hmm.
experienced university tennis here in the UK as I came back to study here, and that was pretty good too. I mean, the level I would say was not as high, but
Mm-hmm.
the actual team aspect was much more prominent in America.
Okay.
It was a real like team bonding kind of atmosphere out there,
Mm-hmm.
and
Where did you
all
study
for
here?
winning. I went to University of East London,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
so not
That's
too far away. So I decided to
yeah.
pick that university as it wasn't too far. I could also work
Oh,
alongside
sorry. I think I.
studies, and that worked quite well. Oops. And I just said I worked as well as studied. Um, they fit quite well hand in hand
Okay.
rather than looking to go to somewhere like Bath or Loughborough or Durham, which would be a little bit further away, but
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be at home so I could work a little bit during that time. So that worked out quite well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you always want to go and play tennis in America, or did you also think about um, trying to go pro, or did you actually do it? Oh, I think we have a connection problem here. Hopefully, Dylan will sort it out quickly. Okay, so unfortunately, I think the connection is gone. So I'm going to close this live and try and go live again, or ask him to join again. Let's see if that will work out. Yeah,
I was
hi
back.
again.
Cool. Perfect. That's
Yeah,
great
so I
news.
don't know if you heard my last questions. I was just wondering if you always wanted to. I mean, if you always knew that you wanted to go and play tennis at a university in the States, or if you had in mind the idea of going pro as well, and if you did that.
So I had a little bit of experience of both. I went to college in America for 2 years at 18 years old, and after the second year, I came back home to London to work
Mm-hmm.
and be a sparring partner. And that's where I actually met a guy who was willing to sponsor me for the year playing professional tennis.
Nice.
So I actually left playing America and I decided to move to Germany to play professional tennis. And I traveled the world for the year playing professional tournaments, all the ITF futures, a few challenges and stuff like that. And that was an amazing experience. And I got a few ATP points in singles
Mm-hmm.
as well as doubles. But unfortunately, at the end of the year, I wasn't able to carry on due to the sponsor only helping me out for that 1 year.
Okay.
But I would have loved to have played longer for sure. I think definitely you'd need to give yourself a 2 to 3 year gap
Mm-hmm.
to enable you to reach your full potential. I'm not sure if you have heard from other people maybe what they think about that, but for me, I feel like if you've got to really give yourself 2 to 3 years to stand a
Mm-hmm.
chance, I think playing
Yeah, I
as a
think
pro
1 year is
to fulfill the potential.
not quite enough to tell what you can really do. Let's say. But was there
Yeah,
no possibility for you to keep going? I mean, let's say on your own or.
I did a little bit in 2017 after I got injured at the end of that year.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found was I was just working to make ends meet at the tournaments to make some money and then spend it, make some money, spend it. And I couldn't actually find myself into a rhythm to where I could save enough to then be budgeting enough towards the tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of ended up where if you make £1,000, you would spend that £1,000 within 2 3 weeks, and or even 4 weeks, let's say. And eventually, it kind of got to the point thinking I can't just be doing this back and forth, back and forth. and I was thinking a lot about my future and what else I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at that time posting quite a lot on social media, alongside when functional tennis was actually at
Okay.
4,000 or 5,000 followers. So I was communicating with him a lot, and I try to push my social media a little bit more. It was good for exposure. I gained free equipment and a few sponsors and things like that. So that was helpful, and that's how I kind of carried on posting. But I did have a little lapse and not post for a while, but decided to get back onto it while I'm coaching, as it's good exposure and
let's say
I guess
from
get
that
my name out there.
experience that you had where you said, let's say you were making £1,000, but then you were spending it on tournaments that lasted maybe like a month. From there, what would you have needed at that point to maybe earn more or move on to tournaments that, you know,
So either I could have played more British tours, more local tournaments to earn some prize money, German league, French league. I mean, I could have done a lot of those other aspects, but again, you would not be earning enough money to support yourself for the longevity of playing. I mean, there was the UK, like the Pro Tour last year, which was really good actually, and that was televised all over the UK, and I was following that along and seeing a lot of friends playing, which was really nice. And one of my good friends that was on there, he made quite good money actually for making semis and quarters of quite a few of them. But then thinking about the money side for that, that would maybe cover him for potentially 3 months, 4 months. And unfortunately, if you want to play professional tennis and you want to rise up the rankings, you would need to be playing anywhere between 20 to 30 tournaments a year. Some people playing up to 50 to 70 matches. So you kind of need the financials to play for that full length of the year, ideally, to rise up the rankings and get to the challengers. And I didn't really reach that challenger level, but I know that financially wise, it's still very tough. I know of some friends that are playing in the challengers, and they said it is a huge commitment and financially very tough, very tough. They need another source of income outside of their professional playing to subsidize that for them.
And what about the sponsorship? Were you not able to, let's say, extend that at the time?
Unfortunately, he's just a tennis player, but not necessarily know about the tennis pros and about that kind of side. He's in tech and he's a university. So he so he thinks 1 year you're gonna, that's it. Whoops, is it back on?
Okay, I see.
Yeah, the understanding was quite tricky, but I was grateful for the opportunity because things like that don't really happen where you get a sponsor to come and help you out. So
and is it difficult, let's say, in that situation to find another sponsor?
I think hugely, yes.
I mean, what would someone need? Let's say in the situation you were in, what would you have needed to present, let's say, to possible sponsors?
So personally, to getting a sponsor, I think nowadays it's more about either if you're top 3 in the country, which is extremely difficult, and only, I think one of the other questions, it's only for the select few that get there that can get the funding to help them. I think it's nice, honestly, to have a little bit of an online presence and to do some things on social media. Even if you get rackets and shoes and things like that, that can help subsidize a lot of things. But I think if you're a young junior playing, you want to be a sparring partner for maybe another practice session for somebody else. So maybe a coach is coaching his client and you're the sparring partner of that kid, so you can kind of, I guess you can kind of get a little bit of a listen into what they're doing and working on, but also you get good practice, so that way it won't be as expensive. And I found that's a good way to leverage your team around you to hopefully get the best out of your training sessions. But in terms of sponsor wise, I personally have found it's extremely difficult. A lot of people have reached out to me as well and said, do you know any sponsors for me? Can you help me with this or that? And I thought, I honestly don't know. I honestly can't give you a name or a company that would be willing to help sponsor.
Apart from like the big brands, but that also, I mean, sponsor quite a lot of players already.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sponsored by, let's say, a racket company, they might just provide you with the equipment, but not actually give you the finances behind that.
Mm-hmm.
So potentially clubs around my area, I know they've managed to do like little charity events and stuff like that, to where they can help to fund maybe 6 weeks of playing ITF juniors abroad,
Yeah, okay.
and have a group of four players
Okay.
playing abroad, which is nice. So they could have
Yeah,
like an exhibition match for the juniors to
yeah.
showcase to people, and they can have like a barbecue,
That's a really good
and
idea, actually.
that helps out actually. And I was thinking
Yeah.
in the summertime at my local park that I play at, to try to maybe rally something up like that. So I'm going to reach out to a few
For the
friends for
junior
that.
tour.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
that would be
especially for juniors,
good.
as you know, tennis is financially very, very
Yeah,
expensive. It's
true.
a
But
challenging sport in that aspect.
do you feel like in a way something could be done by, let's say, the not the authorities, but just the bodies that govern, let's say, tennis in a way, or deal with tennis? Because a lot of people say that after you reach the age of 17 or 18, or maybe even a bit earlier, there's not much there um, for young players in the UK, let's say. Did you
Yeah, there
have that
isn't.
feeling at the time?
Yeah, unless if you, like I said, you have to be top five, even yeah, top five probably in the country to get some sort of funding, which is extremely difficult because you have to be playing the consistent tournaments. You have to be probably homeschooled even,
Mm-hmm.
because how are you supposed to train and then compete on scheduled times from Monday to Friday when, let's say, I was studying, sorry, in school Monday to Friday in full-time education. I can't give that time to playing the tennis. So
Yeah.
I felt like it was really tough on someone like myself to try to rise up the rankings to get to that position. And even if you are there, I think, number 17, I think, in the country and
Mm-hmm.
under 18s,
Okay.
which was good. But I had possible chances to get into the top 10. Um,
And
but
what?
even then, there's no guarantee you're going to get funded. I think
Okay.
when you're in under 12s and 14s, I think there was something where if you're top 30 in the country, you can get a little bit of money and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And one program that I really recommend is the ACE program, AASE.
Okay.
And that was from the age of 16 to 18-year-olds. So if there's anyone here listening, because that will be helpful for them, where they can basically pay for your tennis training. And I went to a place called Batchwood,
Mm-hmm.
and the coach there was called Jamie Fallis, and he was a great coach and had a good group of players. So the training was for free, and you would fill out like, you'd have like a big workbook throughout the year, and
Okay. Did you
basically
have
you'd have
to
free
have a
tennis training.
ranking for that?
Yes, it wasn't the criteria was not really difficult at that time. I believe it was at 16, 6.1 maybe was the cutoff,
Okay.
around there. So it's
That's
achievable, and in
accessible.
relation to that level, you should be, yeah, about, at that time, if you're 75 in the country, top 100, you should be
Mm-hmm.
definitely within
Yeah,
that
yeah.
rating. And I think there was a ranking, I can't remember,
That's good
but
to know.
that's important as well. Another guy I met, actually, he's in the chat, Matthew, and we knew each other from the ACE program, actually, which was really
Okay.
helpful in that we had a lot of free training and good practices to help towards
Mm-hmm.
maybe our journey of college tennis or anything like that. So I didn't think I was going to be playing professional tennis, but I've always wanted to play professional tennis. So it kind of, the sponsor allowed me to do that and go
Mm-hmm.
down the path that I kind of wanted to go down more.
Okay.
And
Just
yeah, a bit
have
of
a
a
few more
different
years
journey.
to prove
Yeah,
something.
yeah, ideally.
Yeah.
Ideally so, yeah.
Um, in terms of, because you said you played um like league matches in Germany, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, for example, because let's say the bigger question is, why do you think British tennis does quite well when it comes to junior level, but after, let's say, reaching the age of 18, it's kind of a blur in a way, like something happens.
Yeah,
What do you think is the reason for that, from your experience, let's
that's a
say?
good question. I feel like the LTO in general, they have a select pool of players to where they may have a handful of only the top crop of players.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've experienced is maybe it's only the top 3 or 4. Actually, at my age, I'm 95. There was Carl Edmond, who's made it,
Okay.
Johnny O'Mara, who's made it, and Luke Bambridge. So those 3, and Evan Hoyt as well, who's a doubles player as
Mm-hmm.
well. Those 4 were the main top 4 that I remember seeing as the guys that were going to make it.
Okay.
Whereas if you're 10 or 15, then you're kind of not known to
Mm-hmm.
the LTA as much. So they were quite selective in who they would pick and,
Now,
and
having
specifically give the
had
money to.
having had the experience of coaching, because you do quite a lot of coaching
Mhm.
as well, do you think that is that relevant? Let's say at the age of 14 or 15, the fact that you're top 5 in the country, could a top 10 or top 15 not become a very good player potentially when, like,
Yeah,
in 10 years time? So is that
definitely.
vision that relevant if you look back on it now?
Yeah, I think that even if you are 10 or 15 in the country at that time, that shouldn't really matter in the bigger, grander scheme of things. I was
Mm-hmm.
looking through some of the rankings a while ago and even seeing someone like Dan Evans, who's a
Yeah.
quality player. And in the juniors, he was not the best in the world. He was, I think it was like 15 or something like that.
Okay.
And look at him now. He's top 100 and comfortably in the top 100.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to say because if someone's in that 10 or 15 bracket, why do they deserve the funding in comparison to the top 5
Mm-hmm.
maybe? But it's the longevity of playing. And as you know, in the ATP and WTA now, players are much older
Yeah.
and getting and peaking 23, 25,
Mm-hmm.
even 27. Like, I think Dominic Thiem is one of the best players in the
Yeah.
world on the men's tour right now, and he's 27. So
Yeah.
he's not a
I mean,
20-year-old fresh and
he's not quite reached his full potential, let's say, probably.
yeah, mm-hmm,
So do you think if
yeah,
they would maybe consider the top 10 or 15, that could maybe improve or increase the chances of uh,
yeah.
more,
I
let's say,
feel I feel
senior
like
players later on?
feel like they should have a bigger group of crop of players.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if they go to Roehampton and train, instead of bringing the select 4 or 5 best players, maybe having 15 of their top players and over like 3 days and training together, training with top
Mm-hmm.
players. And from my experience as well, is you need to be playing with the better players every single other week or so. I know juniors that are maybe 14, 15 years old and they're already hitting with 16, 17-year-olds. I mean,
Yeah.
every now and then it's good to play players around the same age to get some confidence, to
Yeah.
not be bullied around the court as much. But I think you do need to step it up. You do need to play the stronger players more often.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where those top 5 in England, let's say, they are going to be way above these guys, but
Mm-hmm.
these guys may have not peaked yet. And maybe they play college tennis, they do really well there. And there's a few Brits that play college tennis, and then like Cameron Norrie and Paul Jubb,
Yeah.
and they have managed to succumb that college tennis and then go even higher.
Mm-hmm.
So
And let's
that's
say after
an
the age of,
interesting thing. Yeah.
yeah, it's, and let's say hopefully someone will think about this a little bit more from now on and maybe
I
take
hope
all
so.
these options in consideration. Though, I
I
mean,
think so. I
you
think
know,
also, yeah.
sorry, what
I
were you
think
saying?
these in I was saying in Spain and Germany and France and Italy, that's where people would look and think, oh, the tennis is really good over there. Why
Mm-hmm.
is why is British tennis not producing as many? And I can just look through a few comments, but one guy, one of my friends, saying that a lot of juniors may burn out by doing
Yeah.
too much. Maybe I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a fair point too, because if you're heavily funded and you're like that next big star, and they say you're going to be the big star, then potentially it's a lot of pressure on them when they're only 16,
Yeah.
17, even 18, and
So very,
it's a
very
tricky one.
engaged for
Yeah,
that pressure, let's say.
hmm definitely.
But
It's good to see.
after, let's say, reaching 18, there are not a lot of events for British players, like local events, let's say.
Hmm.
And going back to the fact that you played in the German league, for example, do you think events like that could help players, like let's say senior players, um, be more competitive in a way, or kind of get that
Yeah,
feeling of competition and
I really do agree with that in thinking British tours should be on much more often. Even these Pro Tour events that they had last year,
mm-hmm.
maybe you might have 3 weeks of back-to-back tournaments, and that
Mm-hmm.
could be every other month or so. And that way, the
Yeah.
prize money could hopefully be pulled in to be even greater. So you could potentially be making 500 to £1,000 per week,
Mm-hmm.
which would definitely cover a lot of expenses and
Yeah.
coaches and things like that. So having more quality tournaments, um, I don't know how often they could do it. That's the only thing with the
Yeah, but at least it
facilities.
would
I've
be
seen in, yeah,
something
even if it's outdoors
extra.
and they can work out like artificial clay or something, just to
Mm-hmm.
keep the matches rolling and to hopefully keep that quality of top Brits staying in England,
Yeah.
playing here, rather than going to the hot climates of Spain or somewhere and then
And
they're
staying
training
there
out there rather than
potentially
exactly. Yeah,
for a
yeah,
very long
exactly.
time, not
Yeah,
coming back to play here.
that's it. It's not as favoured, I guess. The weather conditions. That's another big thing of
Yeah.
why a lot of players would go to different countries to train and such.
How was that
Yeah.
experience though for you playing in the German league? How does it happen? What happens in the league?
So it's similar a little bit to what you do in America, where you'd have a
Mm-hmm.
team, and let's say there's 6 players in a team. You guys will all play against their best players, number one, number two, number three, number four. And what you do is you play singles, you play doubles as well,
Mm-hmm.
and you just allot the scores together to see who
Okay.
is the eventual the winner. Yeah, and you play against all different clubs across, usually within the area. But if you do better, then you can expand and go into the higher leagues. The league that I played in wasn't that strong, as I was close to the academy, and it was more just of a time for me to balance and play some matches before playing and traveling on the ITF Futures.
Okay. And how do you get into those teams in Germany, for example? Does someone contact
I
you or do you reach out to them?
I personally knew a coach there
Okay.
who had a team. That's how I kind of got into that.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I think yeah, it's through contacts. Usually, someone could recommend you and say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, or I'm looking for German a German place to stay and train and play in the summer. Do you know anyone that can
Mm-hmm.
help me out with that?" And then they can sort out rates of how much you get paid per match and help you
Yeah.
with accommodation and training. And it's usually a good way to, yeah, every summer pretty
True.
much. So
True. And to kind of
German,
finance
eventually,
your own tournaments
yep,
later on. I
yeah, great
remember
time of
some
year.
of the
Yeah.
girls that I used to know from when I used to play, quite a few of them were going to Germany to play for different teams, and that's
Oh
how they were
yes,
making some
and
extra money.
nice. And even the Bundesliga level is extremely high. You'd get players
Yeah,
top 100 playing, and
yeah,
so you have
yeah.
levels for everyone. That's where I think it would be really cool to have something
Mm-hmm.
like that here as well. If the LTA could somehow sort that out, I think that'd be really cool.
I would like leagues for different levels or tournaments
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, but up to the pro standard maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe people could even go to events to watch them and pay a little bit of money, and that goes towards the players
Mm-hmm.
or the officials or whoever that is up there. That
Yeah,
they can help support them at least. And I think that's how the British community can hopefully gather
mm-hmm.
and help invest more in the British tennis rather than just seeing it. And so they're actually
Yeah,
physically going to watch
yeah.
the matches or seeing the top players in the country playing.
And you mentioned
Yeah,
about the
because I
pro.
definitely didn't see.
Yeah. What were you
Oh, sorry.
saying?
Oh, sorry. No, no. Carry
No,
on.
it's fine.
Oh, no, no. I can't remember now, actually. Don't
Sorry.
worry. It's okay.
I was just gonna ask about the pro tournaments that happened, let's say last year, Pro Tour. Um, I mean, you know some of the players probably. Are there some that you used to train with or play against? And if you can
One
name
of
a
my
few.
one of my good friends, his name's Josh Paris. He's from
Mm-hmm.
Middlesex as well. You should have a chat with him. He's a good
Yeah.
guy, and I trained with him locally. He's one of my good friends as well,
Mm-hmm.
and he definitely said financially this has really helped him.
Okay.
Because he has the financials now to then play the tournaments, but obviously due to COVID, it's been quite tricky. But at least he knows that with that, with those tournaments that he did well in, he could at least have the support to then carry on playing professional tennis.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably one of his biggest things, which he said, "Why can't we have more of this?"
Yeah,
And
maybe whoever
I
is
thought exactly,
listening
yeah.
now, that would be, yeah,
I
some
hope so.
prize
I
money
hope so.
tournaments would be a very good idea.
And even if the prize money was, I mean, maybe it was sponsored or private,
Mm-hmm.
someone private was sponsoring it, but
Yeah,
if they could have a little bit of that, maybe 3 to 4 times a
a
year,
year.
so
Yeah.
every 3 or 4 months, that would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
They would have probably 20 to 30K, hopefully, and that would support them just about maybe.
Mm-hmm. And let's say if
Yeah,
that were to
and
happen,
I guess you could.
would you consider doing it?
Personally now, probably not anymore now,
No.
unfortunately. I think I'm at that age to where I think I'm very passionate about the coaching side now. Before, I would have loved to keep playing. If I was 20 to 23,
Mm-hmm.
I would have gladly dropped the coaching to carry on. But unfortunately, I just know the long term of me maybe playing 6 months to a year and maybe getting
Mm-hmm.
more points, or even if you get to 800, 700 in the rankings, you're still not going to make any money really
Mm-hmm.
without the extra, yeah, without the extra money events
Yeah.
alongside that.
How
So,
did you get
I
into
mean, that's a good
coaching? I
question.
mean, when did you decide to get into coaching?
So roughly around 2017,
Mm-hmm.
um, I moved to Qatar for 3 months to train
Okay.
a very good junior. He was in under 14s, and it was amazing to see the level that he played at, and for me to be alongside him as a tennis coach, fitness coach, and travel coach as well. And so that kind of opened my eyes to it a lot more. And I had the opportunity to then stay with him to carry on coaching, or my other option was to come to the UK to study. And I thought for the longevity of myself, I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
get an education and see which route that will take me down, and maybe come back into the coaching, and where it actually has led me to now. So I finished my degree, and now I'm coaching full time. So it kind of worked out well. Still in contact with him as well, which is nice. He's in
How
Germany
you doing
actually.
now? Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Germany. I haven't checked his ranking recently, but he was doing well. He was at the Schuttler Tennis
Mm-hmm.
Academy in Frankfurt.
Okay.
I believe he's still there. So, but
Well,
no, it kind of led me down to where I am
well,
now. Yeah.
let's say how would you compare you to, let's say, when he was 14 compared to Dylan at 14?
Oh,
Uh,
he would beat me.
yeah.
He would beat me definitely. Yeah, he already had a mean kick serve,
Mm-hmm.
huge forehand and things like that. I think I was a late bloomer for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the strength. I'm not the tallest. I just used my speed a lot, whereas he definitely had big weapons at that age. So that's
Okay.
a big help. And um, one of his challenges, like his rivals, was a guy that plays at now the Morotoglu Academy, and he was a finalist for the Les Petits
Mm-hmm.
a few years back now.
Okay.
So that's who he was competing with. So that's his level. He was pretty
Mm-hmm.
high.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Nice.
I think yeah, it doesn't matter even if you bloom late or early.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about the long term journey of how you're going to do later, rather than
Sure.
I
Sure.
know a lot of parents and coaches will put pressure on juniors saying you got to be so damn good at this age and you got to get this rating, this ranking. And I say no, it's okay. Don't worry. I'm not
Did you have
looking. I'm
any
not
of that
looking in the
person?
next. Personally, no. I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
anyone really. My parents were very good with that in being supportive, but not being pushy. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they'd take me all over the country to play as well. None of the coaches were to that extent like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that it's important to have some good goals, some clear goals, but to not put pressure on yourself
Yeah.
and saying you need to be at this ranking, this rating at this age, because it doesn't matter long term too much
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're not way
Sure.
off that, let's say.
Sure.
Yeah,
And apart
so
from,
that's
let's say,
interesting.
maybe sometimes putting pressure on the player, where do you feel like the parents could do a bit better in terms of their relationship with their child
I
and
think sometimes stepping away sometimes, like actually just saying if they're not in that tennis coaching bubble or the
mm-hmm.
field, they love to put input into their
Yeah.
child's development. But if they haven't been there and done it themselves, let the coach professional do their job. That's why they pay us to coach for them,
Yeah.
to
Sure.
coach their kids and teach them. And when they have too much input, it can
Mm-hmm.
confuse the kids into thinking, who do I believe, my parents or
Yeah.
the coach? And it can be very challenging. I've noticed a lot of kids being in two minds, or a
Yeah.
pushy parent saying, you got to train like this and do this, but then they're like, my coach is doing this. It's conflicting.
Yeah. How do you manage it as a coach? How do you deal with that?
I have strict rules from the beginning with the parents to say
Mm-hmm.
how much, like some sessions I would say, please actually watch from the window,
Okay.
don't actually watch the lesson or something like that, to where I can work on individual aspects and personal mental things with the actual
Mm-hmm.
with the child, or junior or whoever.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can build a good connection with them as well. So I feel like a lot of my clients, I have a good connection with them, not as like a friendship as well as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So they can relate to me a little bit better, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like kids that are 14 to 18,
Yeah.
they deal with a lot of other things in their life, in school and friends and stuff like that. And going
Yeah.
through what I experienced as a junior, it's quite lonely. You sacrifice a lot to
Mm-hmm.
play the sport you love, and that's what parents may not understand. So I try to relate it better to the kids, to say, no, it's okay. Like, I know you're missing hanging out with friends, but maybe another day, another
Mm-hmm.
time, and focus on the training now. Your bigger picture is go to America. So I'll
Okay.
help support you that way. Yeah. I don't want to talk too much, but that was, yeah,
Yeah. No,
kind of that.
that's good.
Yeah.
What aspect of the coaching do you like the most?
Um, oh, that's a tricky one. I love the teaching side, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I just love seeing someone improve. That's how I get the greatest kind of buzz from coaching. It's so nice to see someone that you've taught for, let's say, 3 months to then 6 months to a year,
Mm-hmm.
and to see their development, and
Yeah.
you go along the journey with them. That's the nice thing about it. It's not like you'd see them once and then you won't see them for six
Yeah.
months or something like that. You'd see them and they'll be performing and training hard outside even of your private lessons or groups. And then you see, okay, wow, in 6 months actually you're at this standard, you're at
Yeah.
this level now. This is to where we wanted to be. And say like they're like, oh, I've done it. I'm like, yeah, of course you have. I mean, you've worked for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
True.
it's
And
quite rewarding in that aspect.
is let's say, is performance coaching your goal, or what? Where do you see do you see yourself as a coach? Let's say in 3 or 5 years from now.
I like the performance coaching route a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think financially wise, as a tennis coach in England, it's good to have the balance, the social coaching, the groups and stuff like that, as it can get very expensive. I used to coach outdoors, and unfortunately, due to the weather, I mean, it
Yeah.
could be a week of tennis gone within an instant. Um, and since moving to indoors, I found some good performance players that I'm training and things like that now. And it's great to see that they're so committed as well in their journey.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would like to to stick with performance tennis, whether it's being here in England, traveling further.
Okay.
Definitely.
And do you
pursue
have,
that route.
at the moment, let's say, do you have any players that you think might get you there traveling with them, or?
Yeah, I have traveled with a few of them.
Okay.
Some of them were international players that came here, and I traveled with them in Europe. I definitely like the traveling aspect. I think I don't want the kids there to be too dependent on a coach traveling with them, as that's
Okay.
not really at that top level. Yes, you see it. Oh, they've got a coach, they've got a physio, they've got a fitness trainer. But in reality, it's not like that. That would be very expensive to pay for a coach and then yourself. It's double the cost. But I think it's nice to have the balance of that. Yeah.
But do you think there's too much traveling could be a bit, let's say, too much or damaging in a way?
Yes. I think.
I mean, in what way?
For my clients here, if I'm supporting, let's say, 2 or 3 players internationally, but my other clients here, maybe I have another 10 other performance players here or 5, then I can't support them. I can't just text them and video call. I need to physically train them as well. Yeah.
What would you say your coaching philosophy would be?
Oh, interesting. I believe in like the process of looking to do good things and work hard and become that 1% better each day to hopefully over a long time, let's say in a year or 2 years, to then see your goals there, to not to think too far ahead of yourself. A lot of people get caught up into thinking my goal is to get to America, but then they go through some rough days and they think, oh, I don't think I can do that. I'm just like, don't worry. We all have blips and things like that. So I think focusing on the process and what you can control in every day, in school as well, and in life, if you can control these factors, like the attitude and effort, that's what I always try to preach to the kids, then that will help you towards your long-term goals. Other things you can't control things like the weather and stuff like that. I mean, you can do other things indoors maybe if it's raining. So that's how I think. Yeah.
And how did you get into the idea of doing personal training?
I originally in Germany was training with a very good fitness coach out there. I recently posted actually a picture of him on my feed. It's one of the most recent ones, and he's from Brazil, and he believed in damn hard work in pushing my body to that next level. So I kind of got very passionate about fitness and really tuned in my body to become stronger, fitter, more explosive. And I thought, this is something I really love. And after a bit of time when I was in Germany and I needed a bit more money, I started coaching other people and doing the fitness stuff. And he was like my mentor. So that's how I kind of got into it. And then when I went to university, I studied sports science and looked to do more strength and conditioning based. And to where I did my level 4 strength and conditioning as well. So I interned at my university with the scholars there and the performance trainer, and training basketball players, football players, tennis players, and I kind of got that passion for that fitness side there from the training.
How is it different to coach or to train, let's say, tennis players from basketball players and other players from other sports?
I think tennis, basketball, even aspects of football is all quite similar. But definitely basketball and tennis players train quite similar without the contact, that is. And tennis players move a lot more laterally. So I was using a lot of resistance bands, making sure that their movement of going sideways would be much better. Whereas in basketball, it could be the shuffle forwards and backwards, or a footballer might run in a straight line for longer periods of time. And tennis, obviously, due to the racket as well, having to coordinate your body, and where the kids are trying to coordinate moving their legs and their arms, it doesn't quite sink in. So teaching foundations like it can be quite funny, but I think teaching mechanics like sprint technique and stuff like that is so important for the development of a young child in knowing which leg and which arm to move at what time.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I really love the fitness side. I'm still very passionate. I'll probably do more courses when things open up, and I'm always researching and things like that. So,
And do you
it's always
think
been.
you're gonna be using it for your tennis coaching, or are they just gonna be like two separate things in a way, or
I
you're
do
gonna
that.
coach?
I do that now. Well, I did that a little bit more. I trained a few performance players at the David Lloyd's that I work at, and I would run the fitness sessions and stuff like that. So I'm quite interested in the junior performance of strength conditioning, but
Okay.
eventually could be even traveling with players. That's the tricky thing. I'm in tennis or strength conditioning,
Yeah.
but it is in the same route of tennis. So um, I think it's important to know how a player moves and how they best prepare their body in warming up, in conditioning, in rehabbing, injury prevention to sustain the best and be the best tennis player that you can be.
Yeah, you've mentioned a lot of good things, but a lot of them that people that actually don't do. They don't do a lot of those things that you just mentioned, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And
I
young
think
players,
athletes. Yeah,
especially.
interesting. Yeah, you have to get on to them about that.
Yeah,
That's one
yeah,
thing that they're quite persistent in saying, no, I
yeah,
don't need to warm up. I'm already warm. But like, oh, wait till you're a little bit older or something
yeah,
happens,
yeah.
but then it's too late. So
From a
it's
strengthening and conditioning point of view, let's say, and because you've coached quite a lot of people and of all ages, I suppose. Um, but from a strengthening and conditioning point of view or fitness point of view, what do you think people, adults, and even young players or just people that are new to sports, what do you think they lack in that area of fitness, or what don't they do quite right
I
in
think
general?
um, it's like how they react to
Mm-hmm.
things, scenarios or situations, and move
Yeah.
their body accordingly. So if a ball is struck, let's say this side, and they move back to the middle, how quickly can they get back to that same place?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time, they would detour with their feet, or their body would not be in the right position. So the balance and the actual coordination of their body needs to be in sync and timed in order for them to move better. And I believe and preach a lot about explosivity and being powerful and
Mm-hmm.
staying light on the balls of your feet. Because once you're very flat on the feet, and a lot of beginners start like that,
Yeah.
you're very slow off the mark to try to move. Whereas if you're always constantly bouncing and you're lighter on the toes, you're much better
Mm-hmm.
prepared. So I think starting with the basic foundations, I always like working from that in doing the basics right. Then we can work onto the harder things,
Okay.
like basic, like skipping. That's
Yeah.
one thing I really like, and ladder drills. So
And
if you
not a
can
lot of
skip,
people
if you
can
can do,
actually do it,
yeah.
surprisingly.
So
Yeah.
if you can do those things well or to a decent standard, then
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that can correlate a little bit better to how light you stay on court when moving. And so I
Mm-hmm.
do a lot with adults to teach them how to skip. It can be quite funny, but it's
Yeah.
also a great way for them to be realizing actually this is something that's important that I should
Mm-hmm.
learn to coordinate your arms, like the circular motion,
Yeah.
while bouncing and not getting clipped by the rope.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes time sometimes, but I progress from that to more complicated exercises, and that's why I think um, the fitness aspects should be incorporated into the tennis. So maybe for kids, I start. It could be 10 minutes of ladder, footwork,
Mm-hmm.
warm ups, all incorporated, or even off the court before they step on the court. Routines for people
Mm-hmm.
to do.
And let's
Yeah.
say, talking about amateur tennis players, let's say, or club players, um, maybe they want to work out a little bit more, but I don't know. I feel like the general idea of working out or being fitter for a lot of people means just running for a
Oh
long
yeah.
period of time. So from your perspective, is that okay? What could they do instead of that to make it more relevant to tennis?
Like what things they would do. I would say You
Is
personally only
running
need a
for
little
like a
bit of
long,
space.
like on long
No, no,
distances
actually,
good?
it's I personally injured myself a little bit from running in lockdown. So, for speaking
Okay.
from my own experience, you can get a runner's knee due to the pounding
Mm-hmm.
onto the concrete ground, which is 3 to 4 times your body weight on one leg alternating. So that over
Oh,
time
that's a lot.
would be quite substantial to leading to injuries.
Yeah.
It can get a little bit tedious as well going on runs, unless if you have friends to talk to or different nice sights and views to
Yeah.
see. So I feel like even if you had a small space like a yoga mat
Mm-hmm.
size or a little bit bigger, you can do so many things in that kind of area to where you only need a little bit of equipment,
Mm-hmm.
um, maybe just some music playing next to you to motivate you,
Okay.
and that way there's a lot of things online now to like where you don't need much equipment, much space, and you could get in a good workout as well.
Okay.
Um,
So would you go for
I'm trying
more?
to share that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Would you go for more
I
like
think running's
body
good though.
training, workout, or just like a short distance footwork or running, something like that? Or
I think I think instead of going for long runs, it's quite monotonous, can get tedious. But if you go on shorter interval runs,
mm-hmm.
maybe you might go on for like a faster 10-minute run, or maybe you
Mm-hmm.
time yourself for a kilometer running instead of actually going for an hour run.
Yeah.
You might be benefiting yourself tennis specifically wise because tennis is an explosive,
Yeah.
dynamic movement sport. So that way you'll be conditioned better to when you come back on the court. You're not going to be running a marathon on the tennis court,
Yeah.
going to
Sure.
the ball. So
Sure.
do shorter, more explosive things. Still do a lot of things sideways as
Mm-hmm.
well. Yeah.
Let's go a bit into the sports modeling as well.
Oh, okay.
How did that start?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, does it help any of the other roles, let's say, that you have, the coaching or the personal training
um,
that?
I think it's quite a separate thing in my life right now,
Mm-hmm.
even though it is to do with sports. Fortunately, I got scouted through the tennis page that I'm on
Okay.
as a tennis model, but they usually use the top 10, top 20 models in the pros to model the clothes for Nike,
Mm-hmm.
Adidas, all of those brands.
Yeah.
So I felt like I can't really be a model for those things. So I kind of actually got into running. I'm not,
Okay.
I used to run as a junior a lot more, but now not so much. So, but the body type and the look is what they've wanted. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been a runner for last
Okay.
year. I've done fitness things. I've done a few things for ecom.
Mm-hmm.
So on websites and stuff like that for fitness clothes. And I've recently done a commercial as well, and hopefully another one to come. So that'll be quite good.
Mm-hmm.
And
How,
it's kind of like a fun little thing to do
yeah.
alongside coaching and stuff like that.
Bit of
It's
diversity. That's it.
led me to some cool countries and travel around England as well. But it's not a full-time job. No, definitely
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
How has every, like each of these roles, let's say, modeled you in a way? Like, um, yeah, because I'm sure even like, sports modeling has taught you something.
Oh yeah, that's taught me a lot about
What do you think you have learned
actually
from
the most
every?
important thing. So sports modeling has taught me how to learn to deal with no's. Like you're constantly given
Mm-hmm.
no's. You
Okay.
may say you potentially got this job, but then the next day they're like, "Sorry, we've released you for this job," and you just have to
Okay.
learn to take. It's not me. It's just not what they want at that time.
Okay.
So you go through a lot of setbacks. They're like this image isn't the right image. You're not
Mm-hmm.
the right size. Your skin's not right, or something like that. Well, they'll throw in all these picky things, and you just have to have a hard skin to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely taught me to be tougher.
Okay.
So there's a lot of good highs, but some lows too.
Yeah.
Tennis, tennis has taught me everything, everything in life that I know. Um, I think it's since it's an individual sport, I've learned to deal with my own self a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
and what things that make me happy, and how I can develop as a person through my own self. Then the playing side, that was again a journey too. Learning to be super independent, definitely, to travel the world and best prepare yourself for the professional matches that you'll be playing. 40 degrees weather, it could be having the food that doesn't quite fit the needs that you want, but you just have to work with what you got. Yeah. So,
and how do you think being a player and having experienced, college tennis and team tennis and also the tour for a while, how have those things helped your coaching?
I think that's enabled me to understand what it's like in like a client's perspective or a kid's perspective firsthand of what they actually would go through, so I can relate to them quite well. And like ourselves, when we play junior tennis or adult tennis, we know what it's like to be in those pressure situations, or when our forehand's not working and we're thinking, I need my forehand to work to make me play better. And we can relate to them. We can say, I've been through that, I've done that, I know what it's like, and it will get better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, because for example, for me, since I started coaching, I feel like I understand tennis a lot better now than I did when I was playing. Is it the same for you, or do you feel like you
Constantly.
get a bit better now than how it
I'm much tactically smarter. I dive into the juniors of their tactics and their tactical intentions, maybe in a match situation. And with that, it makes me think, I question myself when I was playing, maybe I could have done this better, but I'm always learning. So I think that's the best thing about the job, is that you may think you're right, but actually there's 100 other ways that you could have done it to get that same result or better.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm personally thinking sometimes, if I could only have had the mind that I have now, or like the mentality.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'd be top 200 or whatever.
It would have been a totally different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, some are late bloomers in a way. So
that's right. Maybe I might go back to it when I'm 30 or something like that. I don't know.
Senior ITFs. Would that be
the senior? Possibly.
Yeah.
I train a guy that's doing I think he's just gone into the 60s.
Okay. Would you be tempted to play, I don't know, 35 plus, let's say, ITFs?
Possibly, I think. Yeah. That'd be a challenge. I like challenges, so it could be something interesting. As long as if I have a family or whoever, then if it works out, then no, I still play competitively, clients, friends, training, so that all stays the same. Still competitive in that aspect. Yeah,
competitive nature always it's always there.
That is right.
That is right. What would you advise, let's say, a 14 or a 15-year-old now, knowing what you've been through? What would be the number one advice that you would give them?
I think it's the love for the game. You need to have the love for the game firsthand. If you don't love the game, it's so difficult to stay in it when you're 16 years old and your friends are going out and schoolwork gets on top of you and you think, I can miss that session, or I can just train more in another month after the exams. Yes, you can, but what would happen to your performance and your mind? And then you start wavering off and thinking, tennis may not be for me. And so if you have that passion, that heart for the game, then hopefully that will keep you playing and breaking that 16 to 18-year-old age where a lot of players would stop. But I think,
Cool. Good advice. I think we're gonna maybe try and finish up there, but with a round of quick fire questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, favorite food?
Sushi.
favorite sport to watch live?
Tennis, but otherwise it would be basketball.
Pick a Grand Slam that you like the most.
Wimbledon, definitely.
Favorite city?
I'm yet to go to others. City, Auckland, New Zealand. That's where my parents are from. But
Nice.
no, I really like it there.
Yeah, I bet. Favorite surface?
Hard court, like a fast tarmac hard court.
Your
Now.
best shot?
Backhand.
Biggest fear?
Ooh. Heights, maybe.
Okay. Traveling by plane or by train?
Plane, for sure.
Okay. Text or call?
Text.
Instagram or YouTube?
Instagram for now, but maybe I might switch.
Okay. Favorite board game?
Ooh, checkers? Maybe. Monopoly. Okay.
Favorite film?
Ooh. Like a Die Hard movie, maybe?
Good one.
Yeah.
And what superhero would you be?
Batman, possibly?
Cool. Yeah, that was about it. Those
good
were
ones.
my quick questions. Thank you for
I appreciate that.
going live with me. I
Thank
enjoyed
you
it.
for having me.
Found out a lot of interesting things, and I'm sure a lot of people have as well. So yeah, thank you very much, and hopefully
no problem.
We'll talk again soon. And have a nice productive lockdown if possible.
And same for you too. We've got to try to keep busy and do things to keep us busy. True. Yeah, definitely. Okay, great speaking to you.
Thank you. Thanks, you too. Bye.
Okay. See you. Bye. Bye.